Can you become such an expert on a certain subject? Can you do so much research that every single question ends up answered? Can you become so theologically wise that you never have anything else to worry about ever again? No. So many of us who deal with scrupulosity, obsessive compulsive disorder, call it what you like, so many of us, whether we know it or not, buy into this idea that if we just keep reading, we just keep studying, if we just keep going, eventually we'll find the answer that solves the problem. You'll find or understand the concept that has been eluding you that will eliminate the need to ever ask any other questions as long as you live. You just need to keep reading. You just need to keep researching. You just need to keep thinking, on and on and on. That is simply false. You will never answer every question to the point that you'll never feel the need to ask any more. You'll never become so theologically wise that you'll never doubt about a certain thing that you believe. The answer to your scrupulosity is not research. The answer to your scrupulosity is not to become so intellectually convinced of your position that you can refute every argument that comes down the pike. People who attempt to treat, and I will use quotes because it's not treating, their compulsions or their obsessions this way are only feeding it. Answers simply result in more questions. Now, I'm not telling you to stop seeking for the truth, seeking for answers, nothing like that. What I am trying to communicate is that you cannot do that in a healthy way unless you have first treated the roots of the problem. Think of this like trying to weed your lawn. You can mow the lawn 1,000 times that really makes those weeds look like they're not there, but they will continue to grow back no matter how many times you cut them off at the top. In your studies, in your scrupulosities, in your inquiries, you can continue to research and find answers to whatever it is that you're bothered by. And you can keep doing that over and over and over. But it will never solve the problem. It will never relieve your mind from anxiety because there will always be another scroop. There will always be another problem, another question, another doubt, another inquiry. Cutting the leaves off of the weed will only go so far. At the end of the day, to really handle this and to make it so that your studies and your research are actually fruitful and beneficial to you, you are going to have to stop looking at the subject that you're bothered by. Stop researching the subject matter that's keeping you up at night, and rather address the reason that you're obsessing over it. Address the situation that is making you so stressed out and so worried about this, or that is making you feel as if you can't sleep until you get an answer to this question. You can't eat your next meal until you get an answer to this question. Stop. Figure out why you feel the need to answer a question before you can go to bed, before you can spend time with your friends, before you can get back into the Word, before you can make time for your husband or wife, before you can make time to do anything. You have to treat this at its source. If you continually cut the leaves off of the weed, the root will continue to grow new leaves. You need to reach down and remove the root issue to make it stop growing back. This is not me telling you that there's a miracle pill that takes away your OCD, that takes away your anxieties, that takes away your fears, your natural curiosity to have these questions answered. That's not at all what I'm trying to communicate. It's not true. Those of us who are actually sick, ill, mentally ill, with something like obsessive compulsive disorder or something like it that causes anxiety, that's it. You've got it. You will live the rest of your life with this illness, with this condition. But that's not a reason to be hopeless. It's not a reason to think that there's no light at the end of this tunnel. There's treatment for this. There's ways to deal with it. And it's not everybody needs to be on Lexapro. That's also not what I'm saying. Some people need to be on Lexapro. Some people need to be on Lexapro and have a therapist. Some people just need a therapist. Some people just need a hobby. The answer is different for everybody. There's not a one-size-fits-all answer for this problem. But everybody needs something to deal with this. Everybody needs help with this. They need treatment for this. Again, this isn't me trying to be a salesman for Big Pharma to get everyone to go on Adderall and then everything's better. That's not true. I was never one who benefited from any sort of medication. It never helped me. But thought exercises and time with a therapist and time with my pastor and, other leadership figures in my life, guides, mentors, those things have helped me. And learning how to handle my obsessive compulsive disorder in a way that works for how I'm wired has been of tremendous benefit to me. And it helps me now when I'm experiencing the anxieties of my OCD or my anxiety, whatever, my depression, whatever it might be. The skill set I've developed on how to deal with that has made the difference night and day between having it untreated and having it treated. I still have OCD, but I'm no longer trying to outthink the problem. I'm no longer trying to intellectually brute force my way through my struggles, because I always know there will be another question that I won't have the answer to. But now that I realize that, and now that I can compartmentalize that and recognize, okay, I know what these thoughts are, I know what these fears are, I know what these concerns are, now let's integrate what I've learned to deal with it, to allow my studies and my curiosities to be fruitful and not dominated by anxiety. Because I've handled the anxiety part, now I can look into the question. Rather than, I have to look into the question to deal with the anxiety. Learning how to actually deal with these issues and learning how to triage your approach to these things is of tremendous import. And for a lot of people, that's going to be going on some sort of medication that just helps adjust how you look at things. It helps adjust how your brain reacts to things. It might kind of level you out so that your peaks aren't quite so crazy and that your valleys aren't quite so low. It might kind of, as a musician, I think of it almost like a compressor. It keeps you in a certain range. That can be a miracle for some people. For some people, it's simply spending time with a therapist who tells you, okay, when you experience this, do this. When you experience this, do this. For some people, that's the miracle. It's different for every person, but here's what I want to stress more than anything else. You don't need to be afraid of professional mental health care. God has given the world immeasurable gifts, just an unimaginable amount of gifts and resources to help us in our day-to-day lives. And people who have spent years and years and years learning how to deal with mental illness are one of God's gifts to us. Just as the scientific advancements that have led us to medicines treatments, coping mechanisms, all of these things, all of these advancements in psychology and science and medicine are God's gift to us. To reject these things or to avoid these things is to steer clear of something that the Lord has gifted us with. Just like all things, there can be abuses and some things might not work, but all you are doing by steering clear of making that appointment with your therapist or just trying that medication for a few months, all you're doing is putting roadblocks between where you are now and having a healthy functioning brain, or at least a more healthy, better functioning brain. So don't reject these things. Don't be afraid of these things. Try these things under the guidance of professionals. You listen to me. If you take anything away from this, listen to me. You will not find peace in your research. You will not find peace in endlessly asking questions, hoping that one of them will be your final question. You will not find your peace in feeding that monster that is your anxiety, your obsessive compulsive disorder. Nor will you find peace in medicine or therapy. You will find your peace in Christ, ultimately. But for some of us, our brains don't let us grasp Christ the way we ought to. They don't let us throw ourselves helplessly at the cross and say, "Save me." A lot of us, especially those of us with OCD, are control freaks. And we have to come up with the right answer. We have to solve our own issue. We have to be in control by continuing this research. And because our brains are wired like that, the illness is the roadblock between you and Christ. So treating that illness with the gifts that God has given us can help us better serve Christ, can help us better trust Christ, and can better help us be good stewards of Christ and his church. So please, get help. Talk to somebody. Try the pill. Try the coping mechanism. See what your therapist thinks. Even if it sounds stupid, try it. The worst thing that it can do is nothing. The worst thing that it can do is not be helpful to you. And then you stop doing that thing and you try something else. But stop allowing these roadblocks to prevent you from knowing the peace that Christ has promised you. Take advantage of the gifts that he's given us. You guys are absolutely in my prayers. Never hesitate to reach out to me. Please join the weekly calls. Please join the Discord server. All we want to do is help, and all we want to do is get you connected to these resources, therapists, doctors, resources in general. All we want is for you to have those things and utilize them so that your walk with Christ is uninterrupted, or at least less interrupted by your mental illness. Okay? So, if you could just do me that favor, it would mean the world. God bless you guys, and I'll talk to you very, very soon.